Well, there's a sound you don't want to hear from an ultrasonic humidifier. This is my second season to use this humidifier, and I'm very pleased with it, but started making this noise recently, so I'm going to have to take it apart and see if we can figure out what's wrong with it. Okay, so with this model, top comes off just like that. One thing that's kind of awkward about it is a lot of times you're going to get water condensation around here that will drop down and could possibly get into a part that you don't want it to get into. This is the basket that holds the bucket that holds the water right here. And this is the part I was telling you about. It's like an air intake. And if you get water down in there, it will make the noise just like you heard when I started it. And if that's the case, what you have to do is just take a blow dryer and try to dry the moisture that's gotten down in there out of it. Or you can just let it set for maybe a day or two and let it evaporate out, and then you'll be back good. Okay, so that's the easy fix, but I've been trying to get this thing dried out for about a week now. Haven't been able to get it to dry out, so time for the screwdriver. Alright, so we're going to pour our water out of here, and as I mentioned earlier, you always want to pour from this side right here so that the water stays away from this air intake. Couldn't find any place to take screws out, and a lot of times what you'll find is if you take the padded feet off, boop, there's the screws underneath there. That's a pretty handy little tool. Okay, so this is a good place to remind everyone that sometimes electronics have components inside them that store electricity. Capacitors, or they could have a built-in 9-volt battery. Even though the unit is unplugged, there is a possibility that you could get shocked when taking stuff like this apart. So don't attempt to take electronics apart unless you have a screwdriver, because they have screws in it. If you don't have a screwdriver, you're screwed. That's actually where that saying comes from. So, but if you do have one, you know, you can just take these out. Some people call this a Phillips head screwdriver. Some people call it a cruciform. I call it magic, because if you have a screwdriver, you can basically do about anything. I mean, you can take things apart. You can put them back together if you want, even. If you were to get attacked by, say, a rabid Guadamunde, you could scare that sucker off if you have a good screwdriver. So there's a lot you can do with a screwdriver. If you get attacked by an ostrich, it's basically worthless. You can't outrun an ostrich, and those things will peck you right in your larynx, pull your spleen out through your neck, and show it to you before you die. They're just, avoid ostriches if you can. That's what I'm trying to say. So, once those 4 screws are out, something's being a little stubborn here. Okay, so here's what happens. Actually, instead of this whole thing coming off, just this little top part, I think, is going to come off. I could be wrong about that. Some people say, well, aren't you afraid you're going to tear this up? Well, it's toast anyway, so no, I'm not afraid of that. If I took it to a repair shop, they'd want 10 times what it would cost to replace it. So, yeah, I'm just going to check it out here. Once again, got to have a screwdriver. Oh, and even better if you have one of these, you still wouldn't stand a chance against an ostrich, or even an emu, really. I don't know, maybe an emu. There you go. Look at that. Okay, here's our little switch. Okay, there's where you put your scent, little scent cartridge in. So that's what that is. All right, check it out. Okay, 4 more screws. You don't have to worry about keeping them straight because they're exactly the same as the others. They're sunken down in there, kind of hard to get. Fortunately, I store my screwdrivers on a magnet. The other two came out a lot easier than this. There we go. Let's see what happens now. Oh, just kidding. A little electrical humor there. All right. Well, that's something, isn't it? And a bunch of bunch of stuff down in there. There's a lot going on here. Okay, we got 6. Actually, we got 8 more screws down in here. So we're gonna need to get those out. Okay, now that I'm inside here, handling electronics, went ahead and put some gloves on. This has got to come out. This wire right here has to come undone, and there's a little keeper right there that you'll need to squeeze like that. It's kind of hard, and then it'll come on out. Let's see. Oh, this is going to come out too, I think. These should be pretty easy to tell where they go back because I don't see any other places where they could plug in, actually. This one's got a keeper on it too. It's always tricky to figure out. Ow, I think I bent my finger back. Alright, well, let's just take a look here. Got a wire there. Now we're getting somewhere. So the fan should be pretty much on the bottom side of this. Ah, there we are. Okay, so there's our little fan right there that I think has got a rusty shaft on it now. So I'm going to try to lubricate it. But this is going to have to come off, which means this is going to have to come off. And I'm not going to bore you with that. So I'll take that off and we'll be right back. Alright, so you got to take this little board out. We finally did get into some screws. All the screws so far were the same size, but now we've gotten into different sizes and things, so you want to keep track of that. That's one of the reasons I'm recording this. I'll go back and watch my recording if I get confused, but basically these screws that have that insulating washer on it are what hold this big board on. That's your heater right there, because is that the heater or the... Yeah, that's the heater. This is a ultrasonic, but it's also a warm mist. So once you get this off, then you can work your way to that. And there's our little fan right there. Isn't it cute? Awesome. Okay, now that I've got the little fan isolated out here, I went ahead and plugged everything else back in and plugged in over here, and I'm just gonna fire it up and see if we can isolate whether the sound's coming from the fan or the piezo ultrasonic vibrator. Should also mention that I've got a fire extinguisher handy here, and also I've been wearing safety goggles, safety glasses through this whole thing. So let's fire it up here and just see if we can figure out what the deal is. Alright, so fire in the hole. I'm going to hang on to this so it doesn't flop around. It's a little squirrel cage fan. There's probably a fail-safe in here so that if it falls over or something. Okay, now we got stuff going on. I remember that it does have this right here, which is, I think it's the float that shuts it off when the water gets low. And may have something to do with it turning over too. So I messed around with that, and sure enough, it came on here, but we got all kinds of lights blinking over here. It says PA, whatever that means. Now it's gone off again. Got that working for us. Maybe I hang on to that. I can do something crafty with it. Well, I guess the only thing I can do now is just put it back together and see what happens. Sometimes you just take something apart and put it back together and it starts working again. You don't even know why. I've had that happen a couple of times. So, and we'll just see. I'm going to go ahead and lubricate this motor. That's the reason we came in here anyway. May not even be the problem, but might fix it. Alright, so basically this little adhesive cover just comes off of the fan there and exposes the bearing. And there is a little cap there, so you want to be sure and keep track of that, because that's going to need to go back in there, and the sticker too. So what I'm going to do now is just there's the little bearing there. I don't know if you can see it or not. I'm going to use this. It says called electric engine oil. I bought it at a hobby store probably 35 years ago when I was racing radio controlled cars. We used to use this on our motors. I had a coffee grinder that froze up, and I just put some of this on the bushings, and that was about 30-something years ago too, and that coffee grinder is still working. So if you can find some of this stuff, it definitely works good. This is not the original bottle that it came in. Not sure what happened to it. This actually has a hypodermic needle on it, so I can really get into tight places like this. Of course, you definitely want to be careful and not give yourself an injection of electric engine oil. So let's just put a drop on there. There we go. That should do it. Okay, I'm going to put it all back together and see what happens. If it's the piezo unit that's making the noise, as far as I'm concerned, it's garbage. I think you could buy a replacement of that. They usually last about 3,000 hours, I think. This is 2 seasons old, so definitely could be that. If it is that, I'm probably just going to, well, I'm definitely going to just take this to the recycler and get another one. I don't think it would be worth ordering a new piezo unit. Okay, so here's something kind of interesting. This little wire right here just makes a loop. It just comes out of the board and makes a loop and goes back. So maybe it's some type of sensor or something, but apparently it just goes down into that well. I looked at the video from where I took it apart. All I could tell is that it goes down in there between the squirrel cage and the side right there. So if it were to get into the squirrel cage fan, it could definitely make a noise. So I'm just going to make sure I get that tucked out of the way and make sure that it can't get into the fan as I'm putting it back together here. Okay, so what I did on that was there's a little piece down there that holds the fan in place, and then I just kind of wedged that sensor in there behind it. I wish there was a way I could actually tie it in there somehow, but that looks like all I can do really. When I put the board back on it, the wire should actually hold it there, so hopefully, we'll see. Okay, we got it all back together here, and yeah, I'll be wearing full face mask for this startup. Fire in the hole. And now we're working. Well, I'd rather be lucky for 5 minutes than talented all day. Sometimes that's how it works out. I tell you, I really like this new mask I got. If you only knew the power of the screwdriver. Seems to be running like a top. And it only had a few spare parts there, so if anybody knows where those go, please tell me down in the comments. So just to sum it up here, this unit is a lot more complicated than I thought it was going to be when I got inside there. Lots of circuit boards and different things like that. So honestly, unless you're an experienced technician, I wouldn't even mess with trying to save one of these. Unless you have a screwdriver. Oh no. The unit just died. It just stopped working. Let's try it one more time here. Well, maybe it was just a hiccup. I don't know. I definitely won't go off and leave this unit running. Maybe the timer was set on it. That might be what happened. Or the humidistat may be set and it just reached humidity. I don't know. Probably won't go off and leave this running while I'm gone. But, you know, I'll still use it when I'm around where I can keep an eye on it. And maybe over time build up some confidence in it. So hopefully you found this helpful in some way, and you'll give me a like and subscribe. I really need some more subscribers. So thanks a lot. Hope you enjoyed it and learned something. Purring like a kitten.